Hey yo guys, I'm back here to give you my thoughts on a couple of the news items slash major shows that are coming up. Of course, tonight we have the Strikeforce show on CBS, which really there's not a lot of buzz for. Let's admit it. No one really cares that much. It's really gonna be hard. Like they're trying to push it as something big, but CBS really didn't get as much behind this show as they did with the shows with Kimbo Slice and even the second Elite XC on CBS show that was headlined by the rematch of Robbie Lawler and Scott Smith, where they would throw ads on during football or just random ads around during, depending on what time. Well, the second one mainly was during the summer, so they could have aired it whenever. But I found CBS hasn't. They've only shown a couple of ads during a couple football games. They actually had a big thing planned for last week's Chicago Bears versus Cleveland Brown game, since the show was in Chicago at the Sears Center, where they're going to have Fedor and Brett Rogers out there both doing interviews on CBS television. Would have been a great way to market it. However, due to time constraints, they didn't get to do that, which hurts the show in a bit. But plus, I think the other thing that hurt that was the fact that it was the game. Let's face it, the Bears and Browns. The Browns are one of the worst teams in the NFL, and I think by halftime it was already a murderous score. So I think a lot of people may have tuned out, but still, at least they were putting an effort on. That's a big effort for them to do that. But really, the other thing I think that hurts the show is it's the greatest heavyweight mixed martial arts, or even you can even make the point, more than likely the greatest mixed martial arts of all time in Fedor Emelianenko versus a guy that's still kind of unproven in Brett Rogers. I mean, I like Brett Rogers a lot. Brett Rogers is actually one of my favorite mixed martial artists in the heavyweight division. He's got a good personality, a great story, an interesting look, and he hits like a brick. And that's something that heavyweights, American fight fans or North American fight fans like in a heavyweight. But I just don't think that he's going to match up that well. I think Fedor can end this quickly. A lot of people are going to be, well, this is Fedor's first time in a cage. But, normally, yeah, if it's your first time in a cage, I'm going to be, well, that's going to be a big advantage for your opponent. But this is Fedor. I think Fedor can for sure handle this. The other thing is, like I keep mentioning, Brett is not that, well-rounded. He's only had a couple big fights. He got screwed out of, potentially fighting Kimbo Slice. He come back with Strikeforce, had a big win against Abungo Humphrey. Then he just obliterated Andrei Arlovsky, which, it was a big accomplishment, but he just reinforced the notion that Andrei Arlovsky has a glass of a jaw. So that's what happened there. I mean, if Brett does win, because let's face it, Brett does have a striker's chance here, as, most people in mixed martial arts, and I think Brett's, striker's chance is better than some of the guys that Fedor has fought. So let's just give it that way. But I just think Fedor is just too good. I mean, his trainers were saying on the Fight Camp 360 thing that aired on Showtime that, yeah, if they go to the ground, Brett may rip off an arm. It's like, what? That's never gonna happen. Fedor's just way too good in the ground. Too much good jiu-jitsu. Just no. I think the other, but besides that, the card is actually stacked well with talent. But the fear with me is you can have the most stacked card in the world with a bunch of the most talented guys, which this technically does have. But there's very few personalities for people to care. I mean, the biggest personality on this show is Jason Mayhem Miller, who's going after the Strikeforce middleweight title, which has now been vacant since Kung Lee decided to not fight anymore, make movies. Of course, taking on Jake Shields, which should be a good fight. I'm really looking forward to that fight. Really, I think a lot of the other problem with this card maybe the fights are kind of one-sided in picking. Now, granted, this is MMA, anything can happen, but I think they're kind of one-sided in the picking. The only real pick'em fight, in my opinion, is the Fabricio Verdum versus Antonio Bigfoot Silva. I think that's the only pick'em fight, as both guys have good jiu-jitsu and they can strike. So I think that's the only pick'em one. But I'm definitely thinking I'm taking Shields over Mayhem. Mayhem Miller. Miller, of course, he's a good striker and actually a good guy on the ground. Like, he's a pretty good grappler, but Shields is just too good for him. Sokuju is fighting back in North America, and he's not fought well in North America. He definitely likes the Japanese style with, not worrying about, weight cutting issues mainly, and, doing drugs or whatever. I think he likes the environment better in Japan. He's fighting, of course, Gegard Mousasi, who, in his last performance in Strikeforce, obliterated Bob Lusso Brawl. I would expect much of the same performance here. I mean, Sokuju, he's beaten who? Bob Sapp and Jean the Giant Norte in his last 2 fights in Dream. Not in that order necessarily, but those are the 2 people he's beaten, and come on. Those aren't talent compared to Mousasi, so I'm taking that one. And I believe that's it, other than the main event, which, of course, I'm taking Fedor in. But, I definitely will watch it, and I recommend you check it out. It'll be interesting to see what they get rating-wise, if it's in the 2 or like a 1.6, 1.5 neighborhood, 2.2 as well. I don't think CBS is going to be that happy. I mean, this is a live sporting event being aired on, a big network. I don't know how else CBS would continue to do the ventures of mixed martial arts on there. I think they probably have to do another one, but they'd realize, look, we need Gina on there for sure. So that's the other thing. And I think the other thing that could hurt this for sure is, of course, the UFC's competing with, their main event special, airing basically all the big fights from UFC 101 to 102, I believe. I know for sure they're airing the great Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira versus Randy Couture fight, which definitely, if the show ends early, go over on Spike and check that out. But definitely I recommend you checking the Strikeforce thing out. Another problem I had with Strikeforce, they had a card in San Jose at the Save Mart Center, or not in San Jose, I believe Stockton, California, with George Giselle and Billy Evangelista, which, I haven't seen it, which I'm pretty sure was a really good fight. I don't like that you had a show to lead into like that. You have a big show, you're obviously going to put more emphasis in. These guys are some guys you actually probably want to help promote as well. Like, hey, unheard of talent that you really want to check out, just go watch your Showtime. But you're not going to put emphasis. That's going to subtract us from hyping our main show. So I was not a fan of that. I really wish they could have maybe waited the week after this show and be like, and don't forget to check this out as well. You could hype it on CBS. It depends how the show is going tonight. I mean, if you have a barn burner of an opener and a second good fight, and you hype up your upcoming stuff as the CBS Showtime Viacom family basically do, then you're gonna have maybe a new set of viewers just tune into Showtime, or maybe get Showtime. I don't know, but that's just the one thing I have to say. Wasn't impressed with that. I really do want to see that fight as well. The show MMA show, but well, I'll have to wait for it. But of course, there was a bunch of stuff on last night as well. Not only that, there was there's Sengoku. I have to see that as well. That aired on HDNet at 2 a.m. And of course, there was the Dragon Gate USA pay-per-view. It was their second show, obviously, and I enjoyed the show so much. I will tell you right now, this was a great pay-per-view. 3 really, really, 3 excellent matches basically on this card. There's a couple disappointments in my opinion. I thought the Chikara match with Yamato and Grant Akuma versus Mike Quackenbush and Jigsaw was a bit of a disappointment. Just something wasn't there. I don't know what it was. I thought for sure the dynamic between Quack and Yamamoto was excellent. I definitely think that should be what they do in the next pay-per-view, have their singles match there. And we get a Jigsaw and Grant Akuma match. Those guys are going to have good matches anyway in Chikara, so let's put it on a DGUSA show. But definitely, the reason you need to check this show out is the Dragon Kid Masato Yoshino match. This was a really, really good match. It's just such a good match. Much better than their first performance on the first pay-per-view, which, yes, I eventually did get around to see. But really, the 2 matches you need to see this show for were the Naruki Doi versus Bryan Danielson match, and Shingo versus Davey Richards. As first of all, with Doi and Danielson, this was such a technical masterpiece, and just how they brought it all together at the end. Both guys worked so well. The near falls, everything worked out well. I liked how they built up to the end near fall there. Like, the thing with the show that I kind of had a gripe with was everyone hit a big move, like a finisher, and that wouldn't be it. But with this match, you know, Doi hits his finisher, he hits the muscular bomb, and that's it. Like, let's solidify that. And plus, you know, Danielson, since he's going over to WWE, there's no point in him going over. So, especially the champion of, you know, Dragon Gate. But that match was really, really excellent. Actually, it was a fantastic match. But the match I think that for sure topped that would be Shingo versus Davey Richards, as this was a fantastic match, fantastic storytelling, fantastic work rate, fantastic everything. I think the crowd was into this match maybe more than the Bryan Danielson match. And that's saying something, as this was like one of Dragon's last big shows on the independent scene. And, you know, I think this is the show that definitely makes Davey Richards a superstar. Like, if you didn't see Kenta versus Davey Richards, and, you know, that match was there, the finish maybe messed up, hurt it, but, you know, he had another great match with Bryan Danielson, Tyler Black, but that was a tag match in Toronto. But this is a singles match against Shingo. Phenomenal. I loved the selling. I loved how they got to the finish with, you know, shooting star pressure into the Kimura. That, you know, battled it hard. I basically looked at this like, this was basically, to me, like Dick Togo versus Lance Storm to an extent. It had an element like that. You know, Shingo, since he shaved the head, which I think sucks for him, as he could do some really cool hairstyles with that mullet. Now it's gone. That kind of hurts some of his marketability. But still, such a fantastic match. I mean, I don't think my words even describe how awesome this match was. Definitely, I recommend you see the replay. And personally, since, you know, this is a tape pay-per-view, obviously, I wouldn't have ended the show with Real Hazard versus the Young Bucks. I would have gone home on the Richards match. Or I would have even edited off the Shima versus Brian Kendrick match. Yeah, Brian Kendrick's coming from the WWE, but that went, 2 minutes, and it was heavily clipped. So, definitely go home with that match. But that was such a great match. I mean, that's Davey's breakthrough performance that, hey, I think Davey in, like, what, two years at max. That's the longest time I think it'll be. He'll be one of the, in WWE. Or TNA, if TNA is even still around, because that brings me to my next point. Total non-stop action. Wow. In, like, weeks, this company keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, Impact is not a good show ever. It's never really been a good show. You'll get a couple good matches on there, some maybe even a great match here and there, on odd occasions. But this show is the most frustrating show to watch. First of all, this week, it started out with Dixie Carter basically saying, oh, if you're not behind TNA, if you're not behind me, blah, 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 then get out and stuff. And I'm like, okay, then why are Kaz and Homicide not out? They're like, yeah, we're not behind this company. Can we leave? And Dixie, no! What? There are like 5 people who want out. 2 have been named public. They were Kaz, who's doing Suicide, and Homicide, who just, you can tell the man wants out so bad. Like, you can just so tell in his performance, like, not caring and whatever. But, a couple other people went out as well. They kept panning to the, you know, the guys in the talent, and they just look so bored. People are saying, man, what an angle this is going to be. No, this is not an angle. This is more Dixie actually addressing the company. They just felt the need to throw this on there, which, why? You're just like, hey, you people are very unhappy with this company. Let's just share it to the world. And yeah, I mean, the other thing that scares me is the amount of time Dixie's been on TV recently is like TNA trying to build her up as a character, because that's bad. Like, do you remember Eric Bischoff and, you know, Vince eventually? When they became on TV, they were great characters for a while, but then they start to kind of turn into their characters. Like, look at Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff as, you know, the heel, the guy that ran WCW, but he was in the NWO, basically. That Eric Bischoff. He kind of became that, and the product suffered. And TNA is a product that has been suffering for about, 2 years straight. We don't need to have that with Dixie Carter. We don't need to have her turning into a character and, you know, losing focus of the company. And now that there's Hulk Hogan coming in and basically him making claims that I'm bringing all my friends and we're taking over, that scares me. That scares me a lot. with this company. I mean, this company has the talent to get the job done, to take over, and not, to be very competitive, and to not make the wrestling industry in North America, or maybe, North America, a monopoly. Like, that's just one thing that I just don't get. I don't see the point in having that on there. I just am still baffled at the production of this company. How, when you have your opening promo, which was not good, and it was just illogical stuff. I mean, Joe's stuff was fine, but I didn't get it. How can you not know how to film? How? Like, you have Christopher Daniels talking, and the camera's missing it by 2 seconds. As soon as you hear someone's voice, camera needs to be there. Or AJ at the end, he's cutting his promo, and his mic's like this, blocking his fucking face. Like, you have more than one camera on there. And, like, the week before that, I mean, you have Desmond Wolfe, or Nigel McGuinness now, hitting his lariat, but it's such a jump cut. Like, he stands up after he takes, I believe it was a German suplex from Angle. He stands up, and then jump cut, clothesline. Like, that is just, like, who is editing this stuff? And I know for a fact that every major news station, what they're using to edit their stuff is Final Cut Pro, and it's a very easy program to use once you get the hang of it. Well, obviously TNA people have not got the hang of it. If that is what they're using, what are they using? Like MS-DOS? I don't know what the hell they could be using. Like, Baby's first editing program? Like, what are they using? How can they not edit a program right? And, of course, the booking is just stupid. Like, I could not believe that Impact this week ended with fucking Rhino and Team 3D. Like, when is the last time Rhino has ended a show? Maybe ECW. I was thinking back to that 6 sides of steel cage match or barbed wire cage match that he had with Christian. But now I'm thinking that wasn't even the end of the show, was it? Maybe you can comment there, but this is a bad show, people. This company is in more trouble than I think I ever thought they were in. Yeah, like, they need a lot of help. And I don't think Hogan and Bischoff are that. I don't think Bischoff even wants to do anything like booking, obviously. He's just, hey, I'm getting distribution deals. Hogan's basically going to be the one, yeah, we're not doing this, blah, blah, blah. Bringing a bunch of people in. I mean, yeah, he says, I'm bringing Rob Van Dam and stuff, and granted, it's Hogan, but, adding another great piece of talent like that, how can that really... This company keeps getting so much good talent that throw in, whether, it's from an ROH or from a WWE or the independents or Japan. They just don't have booking. And I don't think Hogan and Bischoff, or Hogan for that matter, is going to help. Really, that's it for me. I'm out. Peace.